I'm going to discuss this very significant topic today, and this is what is there, the most significant points in D Amore. You can actually see this also, D Amore. So, this is D Amore, right? So, you just see this, and then uh, I'll give you the basic discussion also. A constant thorn in the side of those who try to understand courtly love is Andreas Capilanus D Amore. And here I'll like to tell you one thing. D Amore, the title is courtly love, but basically it's all court politics. It's all court administration. That is also one of the significant aspects. The disconcerting treatise provide us with the only true art of courtly love that we possess. But it is also certain, but it is also contains a very harsh attack against love. The antithetical attitude towards love is all more astonishing because Andreas, although a churchman, devote for more space to the instruction on how to love and the praise of love than to attack it. Explanations for this anomaly have ranged from extreme to the other. Andreas was sincere only in the section devoted to praise of courtly love, book 1 and book 2. So, book 1 and book 2 are talking about the section devoted to praise of courtly love. Whereas the third book, okay, represent a later force of willing recantation, or Andreas has been obliged for unknown reasons to compose a treatise on love and append the third book to correct any misunderstanding regarding his personal opinion on the matter. Recently, some scholars have tried to find explanation for those treatises that deny in effect the extent of conflict between the two parts. D.W. Robertson. You please remember this writer, D.W. Robertson. This reference will come again and again. And he is one of the most significant writers whom you have to quote in your answer. D.W. Robertson, for example, finds ironic overtones in book 1 and book 2 that betrays Andreas' disapproval of courtly love. The third book is a right condemnation. I shall return to Robertson's thesis below. In the most thorough analysis to date, Andreas' treatise, Phallic Scholar, Scholzer, has come to the conclusion that there is in fact no comparison between the two parts, and that Andreas did not really try to find one. The type of love attacked in Reprobatio is totally different from the courtly love described in the rest of the treatise. Schlosser includes that Andreas did not seek to reconcile courtly love and with the teachings of the church, but rather let the world of the courtly love and the world of Christian dogma stand side by side, each absolute in its own sphere. Both are confined to predetermined areas and do not overlap. Thus, the attack from the point of view of the church, book 3, is directed against the same type of love Andreas condemned in book 1. When he considered peasants, prostitutes, and gold diggers and like. So these are most significant, uh, characters whom he is defining or maybe confining in love. You know what we have to do. So how, whether they stand for love or not. This is what peasants, prostitutes, gold diggers and like. However, Schlosser, a dualistic interpretation does not solve any more problem that is created. It would be singular obtuseness on the part of such a subtle analyst that Andreas, if he failed to recognize and try to resolve the obvious conflict between courtly love and the teachings of the church. Indeed, since he was a churchman, his silence regarding the conflict would not rather suggest that he was not really sincere in book 3. That the display of self-righteousness found here, there is a cynical attempt to disguise the very real conflict between teaching of the church regarding carnal love and the physical embraces that are part of courtly love as described in book 1. and book 2. Furthermore, Schlosser contains that Andreas was not speaking about courtly love in book 3, is contradicted by the opening and closing words of reprobatio. For there, Andreas makes perfectly clear to his friends, Walter, that instructions contained in the first two books is not to be followed, lest one run danger of incurring eternal damnation. Book 1 and book 2 were written. The justification Andreas offer for having written De Amore and the reason he gives Walter for reading it may seem far-fetched. He repeats himself, however, at the end of the book 3, page number 358 to 61. But Andreas' words make it clear that he was well aware of the conflict between Christian teaching and courtly love. So there are two more topics we are able to understand: Christian teaching and courtly love. Okay, so what is the difference? And this reference comes in book 3. It constituted as an attack not only on the baser form of love described at book 1. So in book 1 he is describing baser love, but on courtly love itself. We must therefore seek an explanation for the composite of the De Amore. It is noteworthy that the introduction of book 3 echoes Andreas' words in the prologue in De Amore in response to Walter's request for book on how the new lover ought to conduct himself. Andreas acquiesces out of friendship to put into writing the necessary instruction. Andreas is hardly an enthusiastic as one would expect at the moment he is about to compose book 1-2 of the De Amore, but he admits knowing how difficult it is for person in love to throw off his chains. So these two statements are an elaboration of the double intention Andreas expressed explicitly at the outset of treatise. First, to teach those who are in love how their love may prosper. Second, to teach those who are not in love how to get over their passion. And it is obvious from these statements that to free oneself from the bonds of love is preferable, in Andreas' mind, to remaining of the love. The God looks favorably upon the former, whereas the latter brings to soul of the danger of the damnation. For Andreas, and consequences of courtly love are no less fatal than they are from the were of the Frankias and Paolo. Andreas' double intention and his attitude towards courtly love is in relation to teaching of the church are conspicuous and consistent throughout the treatise. In admonishing Walter not to court a nun, and this is one of the significant points which you have to understand, and we will go for the do's and don'ts for the love. So a nun is being perfectly denied not to court. Andreas, in fact, people are denied not to court nun. Andreas stresses double intention when he says concerning himself that the cri d'amour in rumors, I mean this is in French, in love, in the last dialogue, the lady object to the men's suit because it is sinful to love. Okay, so page number 159 to 161, it's mentioned sinful to love. The suitors reply that the lady must choose between this world and the next, that she cannot serve both God. She ought either to retreat into the cloister and devote her life completely to serving God, and make up her mind that as long as she wishes to stay in this world, she must be prepared to accept the love of a qualified suitor. Love being the only source of the good here below. Indeed, on virtually every occasion that Andreas speaks of the benefits derived from the courtly love, he is careful to insist that the benefits are limited to this. The statement that is, this is page number 28 to 29, is echoes through the treatise. Andreas defines briefly the that love bring about chivalry and courtly. He elaborates on the practice of chivalry and courtliness in the first set of the rule contained in De Amore. Here are admonitions regarding largeness and social grace, war and knighthood, and a religious observance, all designed to make the lover worthy of being loved. In the De Amore, therefore, Andreas keeps courtly love in proper perspective He makes off clearly the areas within which it is operative and subordinates it to Christian teaching regarding carnal love. Courtly love is a sin. Courtly love is a sin, and even though it may not be serious, so that's why page number 162 you find that he refer as courtly love as a sin. Although the evidence clarifies Andreas' position regarding the relationship between book 1 and book 2 and 3. It is still perplexing as far as Andreas' personal approach to love is concerned. If he admits that love is sinful, how can he become so ecstatic about it? And then, uh, yes, D.W. Robertson Jr. correct in regarding the first two books as an expression of ironic humor. Wherever Andreas exclaims in such terms, the reader would then be entitled to laugh as sardonically as he would today if someone were to cry out, "Oh, what's a wonderful thing war is, that leaves so many men with strong bodies and noble minds." Indeed, a Robertson points out. It must be remembered, however, that old French, rire means not only to laugh at but to smile approvingly. It could be often used to show or please approval as well as mockery. When Ronald greets, he is not laughing at emperor at everyone else. It is quite possible, therefore, that Drouart was showing both pleasure and approval in reading Amore. In fact, it becomes even more probable that he was sympathetic to the instructions contained in book 1 and 2 when one learns that he began translating Andreas in part for sake of lady he loves. This reference you can remember, this book is very significant, and which we have mentioned D.W. Robertson Jr., the subject of Amore, Andreas Capilanus, because this is the writer which we are mentioning again and again. So please quote this writer for your answer, D.W. Robertson Jr. The title of the book is the subject of the Amore of Andreas Capilanus. This lady, together with a friend, inspired the translation of a work which, according to Robertson, should make all courtly lovers a laughing stock. Drouart refers to the two gain in epilogue to the reprobatio, but only as a friend, and another such discretion on his part is fitting after the anti-feminist diatribe that takes so much of the reprobatio. But he is also careful to exclude all good ladies from the general condemnation of women. Andreas does not attempt to soften the blow of book 3 in this way. A better indication of Andreas' attitude towards courtly love, that veiled mockery, is the distinction he makes between different persons and social classes, and significances of the distinction for the practice of courtly love. On the broadest level, Andreas maintained a double standard towards men and women throughout Amore. Priest may love under certain circumstances, none may not. Page number 1, book 1, page number 222. Now, this is here a kind of double standard. Priest may love, but nuns may not. So, for woman, he keeps different criteria, and for man, he keeps different criteria. So, priest may love under any circumstances, nuns may not. And please remember this, book 1, page number 221. Infidelity by the male lover is not so serious as were committed by the woman. So, infidelity is acceptable for man, but not for woman. Book 2, page number 261. Succumbing to amorous temptation is greater sin in woman than in man. So, women cannot succumb to circumstances, women cannot be loved, and women cannot commit any crime in love. These are prohibited. But Andreas distinguishes not just between man and woman, but also between man and women of different social positions. He admits as possible courtly lovers, persons of the nobility and bourgeoisie can be seen in the different dialogue involving representatives of the various classes. The nobility is subdivided into those who are noble, more noble, and most noble. So, nobility also has been divided into 3 categories: noble, more noble, and most noble. Degrees are there. The most noble are members of the clergy, and one of them appear as a suitor in part of the last dialogue. The Our Lady makes an important distinction between when she argues with that the clergyman should not interest himself in courtly love, because by his vocation he ought to condemn the practice as sinful. The man and woman do not resolve this problem in their discussion, but Andreas returns to in chapter 7, book 1. Immediately following the dialogue, the chapter is one of several chapters, chapters 7 to 12, where he considered exceptional types of lovers. The distinction Andreas make in these chapters are useful in defining more carefully his attitude towards courtly love, and careful examination of them is therefore necessary. In these chapters, Andreas clearly prescribes the limits within which courtly love is operative, excluded from the practice of courtly love because they are or should be exempt from worldly concern and living only for God, and clerics, chapter 7, and nuns, chapter 8. Also excluded, however, are those who are unworthy to love, gold diggers, chapter 9, last women, uh, fast women, chapter 10, peasants, chapter 11, prostitutes, chapter 12. These are the chapters which you need to remember. He's specifically mentioning about these types of lovers. So, in chapter 7, you find clerics. In chapter 8, you find nuns. In chapter 9, you find gold diggers. In chapter 11, you find peasants. And chapter 10, you find fast women. Chapter 12, prostitutes. So, please remember, he's talking about clerics, nuns. Then he is talking about gold digger. What is this means? We need to understand from his perspective in the medieval France. Fast women, peasants, and prostitutes. So these are the subject of love which we need to understand, and the chapters are given accordingly. Andreas thus makes marks off carefully the limit of courtly love, and at the same time establishes a hierarchy of different types of love. This is particularly apparent in the types that border on courtly love. At the upper extreme, Andreas forbids love for any sort of nuns. So, anybody else can do, but nuns' love is being prohibited exceptionally. That is page 221222. Indeed, he is so adamant on this point that he refuses to give any instruction on how to court nun. The refusal is significant for two reasons. First, Andreas admits to knowing from personal experience how to court nun, and thus the danger of such love, because he was a monk, he was a priest, he was a churchman. So he knew if you are loving a nun, then it could be very dangerous. So that's why he is prohibiting to court a nun. And the second is refusal to give any instruction runs counter to Andreas' practice of Amore, where he condemns various kinds of lovers and love. Should the lover be unable to constrain himself, this occur in the case of clerics. For Andreas insists forcefully that they should not fall in love. For clerics, those people who are for the practice of the church and those who have devoted their life for the service of the God. For Andreas insists forcefully that they should not fall in love, but goes on to say that if this is unavoidable, they should love someone of suitable nobility and follow the rules of courtly love as prescribed in De Amore. The clerics must, however, maintain sharp distinction between his role in the church and one has his role courtly love on the other, and under no circumstances allow the two roles to overlap. The over limit of the courtly love borders on the peasants class. Now we come to the peasant class, okay, who are not to be confused with the member of the bourgeoisie that appear in some of the dialogue. Andreas first point out that the member of the peasants class are rarely capable of elevating themselves to the moral level required for courtly love. Furthermore, it should be better not to admit even those who may not be able to acquire the necessary probatia, since this would upset the order of the society. Peasants are essentially for the cultivation of the land, and if they were to take the time necessary for the courtly love, they would no longer be able to provide themselves and others. So he is prohibiting peasants also. He is saying that peasants are for the farming, so they should not involve in the courtly love because it's a waste of time. So, okay, Mr. Peasants, go and work in the field, forget about courtly love. That's what he's saying. However, continues Andreas in the same vein as when speaking of the love among the clerics. He will at least tell Walter how to go about winning a peasant girl if one should happen to strike The method flattery enforces conventional and can see old French. It is methods particularly suitable to the class. People who, according to Andreas, are little different from animals in regard to love. But Andreas definitely does not approve of his sort of making and page number 236. Not what one ought to do, but what one can do if the necessity should arise. And in any case, love for peasant is preferable to love for prostitute and gold diggers. Regarding gold diggers, magic expedite, and then prostitutes are in any case to be completely avoided. So, gold diggers, I don't know what is this reference, because I really need to understand gold diggers from the medieval point of view, and then prostitutes. They are prohibition. Oh, no, I mean, they do not stand for love. The attitude towards clerics and peasants is striking because it reflects Andrea's point of view in composing De Amore as a whole. For most of all varieties of the sensual love, Andreas both expresses disapproval for love and gives the instruction necessary for success. Love for peasant is definitely not courtly, as a member of nobility or the better bourgeois should not concern himself with it. Similarly, it is wrong for a member of the clergy to love, even if his love is courtly. But should a knight be irresistible, attracted by the peasant girl, or clerics by the lady of the upper nobility, each should adapt himself to the level of the lady in pursuing her, the peasant girl to be taken by force, and the noble lady by courtliness. One more distinction Andreas makes regarding courtly love must be considered in order to make the discussion complete. In chapter 6 of book 1, Andreas describes 5 ways of awakening love. Remember this thing. In chapter 6 of book 1, Andreas describes 5 ways of awaken love. Female, when venue state, morum, I mean, this is some different language. The last two correspond to the love of gold diggers, prostitutes, and oversexed. Andreas immediately reject their love as unworthy of the name. The other three sorts of love are divided into two groups: those who love because of the attractive appearance of the lady or gentleman, and those who love is awakened by the inner worth of the loved one, by the eloquence of the suitor, provided the eloquence is founded on probatio. The distinction Andreas is making between the simple and the suit of the he is inclined to be hasty, may easily reveal his love through inadvertence, and thereby produce difficulties that led ultimately to the frustration and cause of love to the end. Okay, yes. So, by direct appeal to the senses, like the peasants and the excessively voluptuous, it is a passion uncontrolled by the reason and unconscious with the real worth of the loved ones. However, Andreas seems to regard love by simplex amans, amans as not quite so reprehensible as love for peasants, since he says regarding of the former. And then we go for the nevertheless, the suit of the simplest. I mean, this is some different language, fine. I don't know that. Finally, there are various forms of love that Andreas referred to that are acceptable not only in the strictly courtly society but also according to the standard of the book 3 and teaching of the church. They are in descending orders of the worth: love for God, and that is, he's referring love for God, page number 123, and friendship and marital affection. Except for marital affection, these varieties of love are presented in book 3 and are being superior and preferable to courtly love. Marriage is for Andreas a form of human affection different from courtly love. Therefore, it may complement but never preclude courtly love. I shall return to the problem of below. On the other hand, courtly love is clearly distinguished from the subordinated to the love for the God. We have seen that the good derived from the courtly love is confined to this world and implies essentially to courtliness and aristocratic virtues. Andreas not equate with the goodness of the love which he consider. He carefully avoid making courtly love either superior or equal to love for God. There are therefore very real danger in the practice of courtly love, and number of book book 1, page 160 to 61, thus foreshadowing his condemnation, book 3, but is also careful to demand consistency. And one suitor advises lady, if one does not love, one should completely abandon the joys of this world. If one is prefers to remain in a courtly society, however, it is imperative to form a courtly alliances in order to promote the good for this world. The a task second only to serving God. Andreas will not be severe in book 3, where, as we shall see, his the alternative to the courtly love remakes the virtuous Christian gentleman more than the penitent monk. The lady's response to the suitor's alternative helped to soften the contrast between courtly love and Christian virtue. And then we come to her point of view. Reflect more accurately than in the suitors of the position of Andreas in composing the Amore, and shows that of Andreas courtly love is subordinate to love of God, but not set off against is an absolute evil. By comparing the different type of a love envisaged by Andreas, one discern a hierarchy where relative worth depend upon the type of love described and in relationship to the higher and lower form of love. For Andreas, there are general five contagious order of the love: love for God, human affection, courtly love, passion, and vernal love. These are the further subdivided into in D more in the descending order. So you know what is this? The hierarchy. So first is love for God, then the second is having two parts: friendship and marital affection. Third is courtly love. Fourth is passion. In passion we find three category: the simplex, peasant, and excessive voluptuous. The five is venal love, the prostitute, and gold digger. So you just have a screenshot of this. This is significant and it will help you for your exam. The esteem that Andreas show for the different varieties of love depends at any particular moment on this point of observation. When speaking to love for book 3, love of book 3, he is writing for the person who will not practice courtly love, and therefore he condemns all form of love that lies between approved by the church. When, however, he envisages human affection from the level of courtly love, the standard change. Courtly love is good, ordinary passion is not too bad. Seduction of peasant girl is possible but not recommendation, and so on. Such a conception of the different level of love and their relative worth, embracing all possibilities from the highest to the lowest, suggests an esteem for love founded upon the gradualistic scheme of existence. The gradualism as an explanation of the world view found in good deal of medieval literature as prospered by Gunther Müller. His conclusion were soon used by Henning Brinkmann to explain the attitude towards love found in simple middle high German poets of the 12th and 13th centuries. Independently of both Müller and Brinkmann, Arthur Lovejoy, in his study The Great Chain of Being, examined the place in medieval philosophy and literature of what they call gradualism. These scholars found in Thomas Aquinas the nearest thing to the systematic gradualistic philosophy in the Middle Ages, although the outlook was common enough before and lacked only a systematic presentation. The essential feature of the gradualism are summarized by the Lovejoy in three principles and the principle of plentitude, whereas by all those could possibly exist because of the goodness, the principle of continuity where each level exists borders directly on the next level above and below. The principle of linear graduation, whereas by hierarchy of the level of the existence is affirmed with God on the highest level. In such a theocentric world order, all level exists all level existence are found, and all level enjoy a degree of good proportionate to their nature, since God, who created all, could not create anything that was not good. Thus, each level of existence possesses a certain value, a certain measure of good. Not many scholars have recognized that gradualism may account for the relative good attributes to love by the member of the medieval writers. Henrik Kohler has minimized its usefulness in interpreting Arthurian romance of the 12th and 13th century in France, and Schlosser rejects gradualism as an explanation of Andreas' double lesson. The irreconcilable opposition between Book 1, 2, and 3 does not admit of the gradualism interpretation. Scholars wisely warn of the danger of seeing gradualism everywhere in medieval literature. More explicitly, Brinkman cautioned against attributing a gradualistic worldview to every medieval writer who, like Andreas, juxtaposes scared and profane, rather than, he argues, a clearly defined gradualistic view must be evident in the author's world before attributing to the well to him. Such a conception, I believe, perfectly clear in Andreas, as we have seen. He maintained that God establishes courtly love as a source of good in this world, and particularly the world of courtliness. Andreas distinguishes carefully on the basis of relative love for God, courtly love, and various types of passion, though his entire scale of love find a continuous and unilinear graduation to love joy terminology and the difference of the love, the hierarchy which supposed to love for and highest form of a love in which men are capable. Is there any more fundamental justification in the DMO for quantitative distinction among the different varieties of love than assumed predominance of love for God over other type of love? A particular what makes courtly love better than other form of love that Andreas condemned. Robertson, in his article De Amore, argues that Andreas condemned courtly love because, like other form of passion, it represents the surrenders of the reasons to the senses. He summarizes after an extension discussion of the condemned common medieval notion of the nature of the sexual attraction represent Andreas uh, by the sequenzo vigio cotigio patio. So basically, according to Robertson, Andreas is condemning any love other than love to God, because all other form of love is sensual, physical, and it's sexual. So that's how we reach to this conclusion. This suits uh, this situation obtains when a man's love is probably directed towards God, or may presume in a friendship and marriage. On the other hand, lower reasons may turn towards the senses, and if higher reasons acquaintances in the changes. So sin occur. If there is low reason, then the sin occur. In this account, the higher reason is that the part of the reason which perceive the laws of God and ends or wisdom. When it accepts the fruit from the low reason, it turns away from the God. Moreover, an important part of the function is to guide the lower reason so that it would be accepted. It will be elevated for the higher reason. So this whole paragraph is, why this is the basic reason what Andreas is trying to say, that this concept in the book is to train the mind for the higher reason. So higher is God and lower is physical love, and he's condemning physical love, any love which is a sense of physical attraction, sensual and sexual, is being prohibited. That's why the courtly love is being discarded, but for the love for God is being appreciated. So this is significant, remember. Then but as Robertson last word suggests, if the higher reason controls the lower reason, higher reason means love for God, and lower reason means sensual or sexual love. In turn, the latter surrender to sensual attraction, it may be more or less successful. The cleric Andreas introduces in the last dialogue is unable to keep from loving a lady, but he is at least able to make his love courtly and pure as possible. This sort of love, as he says, is reprehensible in God's eyes. What makes it the difference? Robertson equates Andreas' courtly love with the love describes in such poem. The question raises by this poem whether the inspiration of the courtly love is really an ideal God, such as, and then merely physical pleasure comes with the DMO. When clerics ask his lady, whether it is preferable to love a person for his noble mind or attractive, physique, the clerics incline towards the former alternative, although both intellectual and physical pleasure are necessary if the love is to be real. So further we move, then we say that how the physical love is being condemned. and we have come up to almost 130, mid of the article. So right now for this I stop here, because otherwise this will be a very long video, and you guys will get bored. So when you are coming to this audio again, listen it again, and if anywhere it is possible, take a screenshot, because this article is talking about, what kind of love is accepted, what kind of love is prohibited. These are the things Andreas is trying to give, and then you will find, which chapter is discussing what, and what are the writers which are significant here in this article. So this, colorful underlining and little explanation from my side will help you to understand this text very well. I think we are will be finishing this article here only, and I'll stop. um, we were at page number 131, so it's almost mid of the article, and in the next class I will let me reach up to page number 131. It's here. So I stop here, and then we'll come to, maybe, very soon you will find the next video. Thank you so much. Subscribe my channel, Dr. Anju Gurava, and share it with your friends, and come to the channel again and again. There are many more videos, almost everything about your MA syllabus. So this channel is very significant because it is talking most of your syllabus. I'm trying to cover most of MA English syllabus, Delhi University. Thank you.